Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Javohir, and in today's video, we're gonna go through everything you need to hack your IELTS speaking part 2. We're gonna look at what you should and shouldn't do, power of storytelling, and how to use that power to crack IELTS speaking part 2. Also, we will look at several common themes, knowledge of which will be very helpful during your preparation time. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Personally, IELTS speaking part 2 is the most difficult section of the whole speaking test. It's almost difficult to predict which topic you'll get in speaking part 2. Of course, you can learn those 50 topics, but I don't really recommend that. Learning and memorizing all those 50 topics will be very stressful and time consuming.
What about PPF?
Well, past, present, future technique is quite good and viable. Many people like to use it, but I don't really think that examiners really like it. And it's kind of a hack tip, or I don't think that it's generic and authentic way of answering questions. So it's only for critical situations. Just remember that. If you have no idea, you can use it, but in all other times, don't use this technique. For more general tips on confidence, on making a good first impression, and fighting your stress, head on and watch my first video about IELTS speaking part 1. So now let's get into my favorite part. So storytelling has a lot of power, and this power can be utilized when it comes to IELTS speaking part 2. You'll get around 2 minutes to answer your questions, so IELTS speaking part 2 is much like a story, and to make a good story, we'll need to learn about the basics of storytelling. Any story consists of 3 elements: a plot, a character, and a theme. So the plot is basically a sequence of actions, a sequence of events, what happened after what. And then there is a character. There should always be a character in a story. So who is doing that stuff? Who is the hero? Who is our main focus? And of course, there's gonna be theme. So what kind of theme is that? Is it a funny story? Is it a serious thing? Or is it more like a neutral story? If we try to translate that basics of storytelling into our part 2, we'll notice several similarities. First of all, there's always some kind of plot in part 2. There is a sequence of events. Something happened, and then another thing happened, and then in the future something will happen. Even if you're describing just an object, there will be a timeline, because you'll say when did you bought it, who gave you that, and will you be using in the future time, and how you use it during in the present time. Secondly, there is always a character. So there is always a person who is carrying out those actions, and most of the time it is going to be you who's doing that. And finally, there is a theme. So perhaps it's a scary theme, perhaps it is like a sad theme, or perhaps it's happy. For example, if you're talking about something you like, then you're going to be happy and delightful, and there is going to be a positive tone. But if you talk about something you hate and dislike, there is going to be some kind of a negative tone in your speech. So there are basically 5 common themes or topics in part 2, and there are a person, a place, an object, an event, and an activity. So most of the questions will fit into one of those categories. And let's start from a person. So perhaps they will ask you to describe a person you admire, a person you like to spend time with, someone clever, someone who gave you a clever idea, and this kind of stuff. So, and you need to be prepared to describe a personal characteristics and traits. So you can talk about their personality, what kind of person they are, when have you met them, and overall try to prepare some vocabulary and stuff that is related to describing a person. Secondly, there's always a place. For example, the cafe you went, the restaurant you went, the supermarket in which you've been. So basically, try to prepare some topics, and vocabulary and good words that describe the place. So that's why you have to talk about this place. So you've got some good adjectives to describe this place. For example, if it's a good place, so prepare for different tones. Prepare for positive place, the place that makes you happy, or the place that makes you sad. So try to make up and build your vocabulary on those. Sadly, there is an object. So most of the time I like to select one or two objects that I would love to talk about. For example, if they're asking about a gift, something that you like, something that you bought from the store, or something you have in your mind, or something that you genuinely like, then you can select an object and talk about it. For example, you can select a watch, a wristwatch, like you can talk about why you like it and where did you bought it and this kind of stuff. Or you can choose like your phone, your laptop, whatever you want. Just choose an object and try to build up some vocabulary that is going to describe that object. And depending on the question, you'll fit in your vocabulary into your answer. And the first common theme is an event. So they're probably asked like the fest you've been, the wedding you've went to, a birthday party. So in this kind of time, you can actually combine some of the previous stuff. For example, you can combine the place. So that you can describe the place you've been, and you can describe the people there have been. And also you can describe the objects. For example, what kind of stuff you've seen, what have you eaten, or most of the time it's going to involve some kind of festive mood. So that's why you can pretty sure prepare for this kind of questions, your answers beforehand. And the final common theme is the activity. So as I mentioned earlier, prepare something positive, something that you like, and something that you dislike. And just be ready for those two. And you can also add some other stuff, but if you're going to be ready in those two tones for the activity, you'll be pretty fine. Well, closing this video, I would say that the part 2 is all about giving detailed, explain it, describe it answers. So strive for that. Strive to tell a story, tell a compelling story. And also don't forget that part 2 mainly tests your vocabulary. So make sure that you carefully choose very good words, and you've got 1 minute to prepare for that. So that's why keep that in mind. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. And of course, let me know your opinion in the comment section below. See you until next videos.